So we had another interesting game here. So at this point in the game, Black had built up a very large lead with all this territory on the left side, and White didn't have so many points, just maybe some here, mostly in the corner, and a bit over here, and maybe some over the side. So since the balance of territory was so far off, White really had to cause some trouble somehow or do something to try and catch up. And in the game, White tried to attach here with the goal of maybe attacking this middle black group. But as we saw, this black group was just too weak to be attacked and could simply cut through here and capture these 4 stones. And once Black was able to capture this center group, the game was over for White. So if instead of this, I thought maybe White could have tried playing something on the upper left. And there are many different options, such as, for example, this attachment here, or this shoulder hit here. But I was thinking maybe this placement here. Just a simple invasion to try and live in the corner and take Black's territory, and then somehow try to muddle through with this group here, which is pretty strong because of this turn at J16. So if White had played this way, White probably could have made life on the side like this, and then Black would have had to use this thickness to maybe attack this white group, but I think White would have been okay. So this could have been one way that White could have caught up. So let's take a look from the beginning and see how we got here. We have this large Shamari, which is very popular now, and this double Hane Joseki that we've all become pretty familiar with. So this peep is definitely reasonable. This is a little early for it. Usually you see it later in the game. So White connected very calmly here, which is all right, but White can also consider this 1-point jump, which is a bit lighter of a move. And so Black could choose just to leave this as Aji and just play somewhere else, or Black can try to pull out the stone like this, and then White can either choose to play lightly here and let Black capture these cornerstones, but in exchange for getting all these forcing moves on the outside. Or White can push here extend instead of jumping, and if Black pushes again, then White can connect and let Black probably turn here like this. So White could choose to play a flexible move like this if White feels like it, but this connection is also okay. So this is a more sort of old-fashioned Joseki that we don't see so much anymore. I wouldn't say it's wrong or anything, but it's not so much in the modern spirit. Nowadays, as we saw, Black would probably attach here, or play here, or Tanuki, or something like that. And by that same token, after Black slides here, White will usually not respond with this 3-3 point here, but instead play another move, such as enclosing there, or I really like this move to sort of neutralize this black stone by playing a large move here, or just splitting the top. But this is still all right. So this move is a little unusual, so as we know, usually Black will just add a move here. Black instead tried to be aggressive by playing this move, and in the game, White kind of just peacefully backed down and played R2, but I think it's too early to play such a cautious move. Instead, White should try to pincer, and so I think this pincer looks the best to me, because we really want to punish Black for playing away here. So Black really has no choice but to jump, and then White can also jump. And we can see that these stones in the corner are still fine. White can still get out, and instead it's the black stones that are under attack. So I do like this pincer, or possibly this one too, either way. We'd still end up with a situation where White would end up trying to split black stones. So because then Black played here, White lost this chance. We had a bit of a laundry break here. So this Hane is actually probably not quite the right shape here. And the reason is that Black kind of has a lot of cutting points. So White can force with this move. Black doesn't want to play this way because then S18 will be Sente against the 2 stones. So Black will have to play the other way, and then White can force here, and then protect. And we can see that Black's shape still isn't so great. So instead of this, we probably want to attack this way. So I really like this R12 move because this makes use of the peep at S13, and it's kind of a dual purpose move. It saves this black stone and makes a 2-space extension here and protects this group. And we can see that white's group is very short on eye space. White will probably have to either attach or jump or something like that. So this seems like a good way to play for me. And by that same token, white doesn't have to play here. At least just this Hane and connection seems fine. And of course, black cannot cut here because white will end up taking the whole corner. I would prefer to maybe lean against this black stone and get some strength that way. If black tries to save all the stones, then it's not going to work because black is just too short on liberties. So white doesn't... I feel like overall in this game, white played a little too cautiously the whole time. And since white played this loose move here, I would think about just pushing through like this. And if white cuts, then black can play this fight. It looks okay to me. So I would take advantage of this sort of double peep here to push through. So at this point, the game is looking pretty good to me. So instead of this jump, which I don't think is so necessary, I would probably... The shoulder is possible. I would probably just jump out here with black. It seems good enough because black has this nice enclosure and has successfully invaded and kind of forced white to play this slow move at R2. And white doesn't have too much territory here, so the game is looking pretty good for black to me. This is still all right. So instead of this, black could have played this way, which might have been a little bit more severe on white. But at this point, instead of... just slide over a bit here. Instead of this just solid connection, which is a little bit slow, I think white should fight back with a bit of a push here. White is probably worried about this push and cut, but it's actually not so great for black. If black just cuts directly, white will be very happy to give up the 2 stones and get a very thick shape on the outside. And it's unlikely that black would want to play here and try some crazy fight this way. These 3 stones will probably have no problem. Black would probably have to play like this, and this situation is still very good for white. So yeah, I would consider fighting back with this push here. So I think this move is, an approach to the corner is good, but this side is a little bit low, right? We have all these stones on the 3rd line, so I would prefer to approach, well, that's possible. I would prefer to approach the other way, because if white plays here, then we can play like this, or more likely like this, so that there's no invasion point at C8. And this looks like a more promising framework to me. There's more potential here. This cap here is also possible, but I would probably just look for this approach as black, and then this extension. Because if we play here, then there will be an invasion point. But since this C14 stone is pretty close, we can just play here. This turn here I don't think is so important because white's shape is already solid. This is another kind of unnecessary safety move that white has played a few of. So I would probably just play here. So this move is totally fine and reasonable. White could also consider attaching here. This is maybe a more common joseki nowadays if you're familiar with it. This version is a little bit more complicated, but I think it's worth trying out if you haven't really played it before. So it's possible for black just to take the corner here, but nowadays we more often see black play this way, and white will connect here. Black isn't just going to push through because of this cutting point. White can just capture the stones. So instead, we'd probably see something like this. So this is the most common continuation of this joseki. It's worth trying out. White could also instead attach this way, and this could be pretty similar. Maybe black would play something like this, and we could have a bit of a fight here. But since I think white is a little below on territory, white has to try something to try and find white's way back into this game. But this move is still fine. So black played there, which is okay. Of course, black could just take the corner like this. That seems okay to me. I don't think it's so important if white gets an attack on this white stone. But I think this move is good too. Although, kind of like I was saying before, I would prefer to play here at d9. Since the c14 stone is close, I would like to play a little bit more closely here to protect the c8 point. And this press is good. This press is a good move. It's better than just like, kicking or attaching or jumping. The jump is good. White should probably go the other way here. It looks like these stones are pretty short on liberties. And so now white could, after playing these Sente moves, play this invasion here. And there's still some Aji here with these cutting points, as we can see. So in conclusion here, I think white should have blocked the other way. So this press is a bit of a sort of a thank you move, just because we would rather just, before that, invade directly here. This would be a lot more powerful, and then white could wedge afterwards. So this would be a bit of a stronger way to play. But regardless, after black hanes, white probably wants to extend here. The reason is just that this Atari, here at k6 is just so powerful. So white really doesn't want to allow this exchange, because look how much that Atari helps these triangled stones here. It really kind of radiates power through the board. So if white either extends directly right now, or were to invade first and play out some situation here, maybe live on the side or something, as long as white has a chance to come back here with his extension, I think white at least has a shot of attacking these 3 black stones. And I see the idea with this peep, but unfortunately, I think white just has to connect here. As painful as it may be, I think there's no choice. So I understand white played here as Sente to push through here, but what if actually black just, instead of that, were to just take the stone here? It's true that white would be able to push through, but there's actually some very big weaknesses with this white group. So what if black just plays here on the side? White can't cut, so white would have no choice but to run somehow and make life for this group. And this would be a very good way for black to get points in Sente while attacking this group. And of course, if black continues this attack, then these stones are going to help these 3 black stones right here. So black would be able to fix a lot of his problems in Sente. So it's very important to see if the opponent's threat is a real threat or can maybe be ignored. So I think this was a chance for black to just capture, and if white follows through, then black can follow through. So that's why white should have probably disconnected. So white tried, this is what we were talking about before, white tried to set up some double attack on these 2 black groups. But it's going to be hard to do. So black, this is a problem with black capturing. Black has this Ponuki in the middle, which is just so strong. And if we look around, all of black's groups are pretty strong. Even this one in the upper right. Since black has a stone at R18, it's not very easy to attack. The only real hope for white is maybe to use these invasion points on the left side like I was talking about. So this is one idea I had for white that I was showing before. And I think this would be the most promising way. White could just very easily just make a living shape here. If white doesn't want to invade directly, white could try, well, for example, invading here, or even a shoulder hit here or here. And of course, it's also possible that if white gets a lot of free moves in this area, white will then be able to attack these stones in the center, although I think it's going to be a little bit hard to do. So after this sequence here, white tried very hard to keep black separated. I think in this situation, this peep is probably good. And this jump is important to split these 2 groups, but it's just black is just too strong in this situation. So I think black did a very good job of pushing through here and capturing these white stones. So at this point, we can see that white's only hope is going to be doing something at the top here, and I think this is a good idea, but it's just not going to work. So I think also black should have gotten some sente moves here first, like for example, pushing here would make this sente like this, and this would be a good way of doing it. Remember that black doesn't have to be too worried about these two stones, the K16 and L16. They're really not important, so black doesn't have to worry about protecting them. Black would more just prefer to get out of here and sacrifice these stones. But after this, white tries to push through. Again, black could have tried to get out this way, but I think this is good enough. And at this point, black just had too much territory. So in conclusion, I think white's downfall was a few too many of these safety moves. So we saw, like, for example, this one here, that was a little bit too early. This one here, which maybe should have been a jump. Later, once black played here, white could have Haned, but instead just played this move here. And then lastly, we had one where white turned here instead of Tanukiing, and where white connected instead of pushing up. So I think with all of those slack moves added up, white ended up losing the lead. And for black's sake, I would say black played pretty well. I would be careful, though, not to miss, instead of this one, not to miss this move here at R12, because it's just so big. And with the lower left, with this approach here, let me go back, I would have probably approached the other way and played the closer extension so that white didn't have the invasion point at C8. All right, so that's it for this review. I hope this was helpful, and let me know if you had any questions. Thank you.